Welcome to Turanto, a cloud application development environment made for you. We're going to go through the steps of building an application in Turanto from start to finish. We'll start at create.turanto.com. Create an account or log in, and you'll see your Turanto dashboard. Click the Create a New Application button on the top left, and you should be prompted with two options. You have the option to build your application from scratch, upload your Access database, Excel file, SQL server, etc., or use one of our predefined and pre-tested templates. Today, we're going to build an application from scratch. For this demo, let's say we're wanting to build an asset management application for a healthcare clinic. We'll name our application and URL, and this URL will automatically be configured on AWS, so just click the Create button and your application is ready. Since we're building from scratch, we'll need to go in and add our entities, associations, and other elements to make this application functional. We'll start by creating entities, items that can be understood as nouns in the system. First, we'll create an entity for asset. As you can see, there are numerous different entity assets from which you can choose to produce your desired outcome. But for the purposes of this demo, we'll stick to some basic entity properties. For the asset entity, let's say we want the user to interact with a wizard when adding a new asset into the system. Each asset would likely have a type and status associated, so we'll select those two options, and Turanto will automatically create those entities and associations in the system. Now let's add a few other entities that we would want for an application like this. We'll likely want to track who has used each asset in the system, so we'll create an entity for employee. In the Behaviors tab, select the option for Enable this entity to act as a person. This will tell Turanto to add basic properties for an individual within the system. Next, we'll add an entity for maintenance records, so that we can track the maintenance record for each asset. Since this entity will only have the document and its associated asset, we won't need to make any additional selections. Lastly, let's create an entity for department, so we can see to which department an asset belongs. This will be our final entity for this basic app model. Now that we've created all these entities, let's go in and add associations. Click the Associations tab on the top, and here you will see a laundry list of all existing associations within your application. When we created our different entities, we selected certain properties, such as type, status, or enable this entity to act as a person. These options told Turanto to create specific entities and associations within the app model to create our desired output. To add additional associations between our entities, click the Define New Association button in the top right corner. We'll use asset as the source and employee as the target. In this situation, an asset can only be used by one employee, but an employee may use multiple different assets. So select the many-to-one association. Turanto provides numerous properties for these associations, but for the purposes of this specific association, we'll only need to select one option, which is the History option, so that we can track which employee has used an asset over time. You can also change the label of how this association shows up on the entity page right here at the top. Next, we'll create an association between an asset and a maintenance record. An asset may have many maintenance records, but a maintenance record can only belong to one asset. So we'll select the one-to-many association with the source as asset and the target as maintenance records. Lastly, let's create an association between assets and their departments. An asset can only belong to one department, but a department may have many different assets. So create the same association as we did with asset and employee for asset and department. There's endless possibilities for associations you could create in this app model, but to keep it as simple as possible, let's just stick with these three. Now, let's switch on back to the App Model tab. Here, you'll be able to edit your entities and add properties and change how they will show up in your finalized application. We won't go through each step done in the next few clips, but feel free to pause or slow down the video if needed. Mostly, we're just going in and changing the different labels and organization of the entity properties to make it look more cohesive in the finalized application. As you can see, Turanto has a seamless drag-and-drop designer, allowing you to change the output of your application without needing any development or design expertise. We won't be adding any additional properties to most of these entities, but the one entity that does require an additional step is the maintenance records. We'll need a space for users to upload maintenance record files. This is as simple as adding a document property to the maintenance record entity. After doing so, any maintenance records uploaded to the application will automatically show up on the asset screen because of the associations that we had made earlier. Now, let's go ahead and launch our application. In just a few minutes and a couple simple steps, we were able to create a fully functional asset management application. To learn how to navigate and how to use your deployed application, head over to our next video. Thank you so much for watching, and visit us at www.etelic.com and set up a meeting today.